Hello, my people. Hope you're doing all right today. All right, we're moving along. We've talked about two very important groups on our world religions, recently being the Jews and the Christians. But there's another group, too, that I want to talk about that has played a huge role in our very lives to this day, and that is our Islamic people in the world, all right, and the Islamic faith. And it's played a huge role in civilization and life as we know it. So, we're going to start by talking about Islam and the people who helped create Islam, and they were Arabians. So let's get started. So here's our guiding questions, kind of. Number one, we're just looking at what Islam is. Two, how do different ideas travel throughout time? We've talked about change and continuity and how those play a huge role in throughout history. So this is definitely one of those religions that has continued and is probably going to continue for a long, long time. Also, what causes ideas and beliefs to last? We're going to look at that some. And also, how does one's religious faith impact a person or a group of people? That's kind of what we're going to be looking at as we talk about this religion of Islam. So let's get started. So if you look at this map, you'll notice there's one color that's prominent in it, and it's purple, all right? And it's actually the religion of Christianity. Christianity is actually the first largest religion with 33% of the world's population, all right? Very, very big numbers. I think it's 2.4 billion people claim to be Christian. However, there's another color that also stands out. That's the second most shown on there. All right. And if you can see the colors there, it's it's green. All right. And that is actually, if you look over here at the key, Islam. Islam has about 1.8 billion followers, and it's 24.1% of the human population on Earth. And then there's the other two behind it. That's a source from Wikipedia. If you're interested, check that out yourself. So let's talk about where this religion all begins. It begins in this city in the Middle East. All right. So if you look here at this map, this is a map of Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, all right, one of our hemispheres. And we've been kind of in this area. We've been talking about this area called Judea, where Christianity begins, Judaism begins, that whole area. And we've even talked about Egypt some. So we were here. Now we're going to move on down a little bit to this place called Saudi Arabia. All right. Many of y'all have heard of Saudi Arabia, but it's actually going to begin, if we zoom in a little bit, to this town called Mecca. All right. This is where it's all going to go down. And if you look, just to kind of put it in perspective, here is where the whole Tigris-Euphrates thing starts. Mesopotamia, our good friends, all right, up there to the north, and the Babylonians and Sumerians and the Akkadians. All right. So here we are, Saudi Arabia. Let's get started. So let's talk about the early Arabian civilization. The Arabian Peninsula, and many are familiar with this if you've seen like Aladdin. Aladdin takes place in the Arabian desert. All right. The Arabian Peninsula is mostly covered in desert. There's not a lot of water. So if you're a farmer, all right, you're going to have to travel in packs, and you're going to have to go from these places that we call an oasis. All right. An oasis is basically a patch of water or a spring that you might find out in the middle of a desert. All right. In plural, it's oases. All right. So to survive, the earliest Arabs lived in tribes. They lived in tribes, and they traveled from oasis to oasis. So to keep their animals healthy, that's what they did. Traveled from water to water. Because what is water? Y'all know this. It's life. All right. Water is life. Without water, you don't have life. Your animals can't live. You can't live as a people. So these desert herders that I'm talking to you about, they're called Bedouins. They're about to come back up on the next slide. But the Bedouins were desert herders, and they traveled from oasis to oasis with their animals. All right. So other Arabians, though, were often merchants. And let me tell you something. There was a serious hatred between the Bedouins and the merchants. They didn't get along because the Bedouins were like, hey, the merchants have something that we want. They have resources, certain crops. They have money. We need to rob them. So the merchants were always terrified of the Bedouins. They said, hey, the Bedouins are going to attack us. All right. It's not that great. So for the merchants to protect themselves, they had to travel in something we call caravans. We throw that word around today some, especially like if you play sports or something and you're traveling to a ball game, you're in the band and you're traveling to a ball game and your parents don't know how to get there, they'll travel in what we call a caravan. They'll follow each other, right, to make sure nobody gets lost. Kind of the same concept, except they were worried about getting attacked. So by the year, and excuse me for the typo there, AD 500, merchant trading had grown. All right, it had grown to such a point where cities start popping up all around. And one of the biggest ones is this one right here, Mecca. All right. So Mecca became the largest of them all, and cities pop up all over Arabia. So let's talk about Mecca a little bit. Mecca, the people of Mecca and the Bedouins and the merchants, all the people in Arabia, for the most part, were polytheistic. They believed in, polytheistic means believed in what? Multiple gods, right? So one thing that still stands true to this day, even though Islam is definitely monotheistic, there was this rock, mysterious stone called the Kaaba, all right? And the Kaaba was believed to be this great stone that had fallen from the heavens. And it plays a role in Muhammad's legitimacy as the leader of Islam, okay? But you can look into that some. I think I have a video on my website if you want to check that out. Anyway, so the Kaaba was a great stone that was believed to be from heaven. And at this time, Arabians worshiped many gods, but their main one was Allah. All right, kind of like how Greek gods had multiple gods. The main Greek god was Zeus. All right, Allah was kind of that for the early Arabians before Islam becomes a thing. So no, now, all right, if you'll check out down here, Islam now only teaches that there's one God, and his name's Allah. All right. So if you refer to the Shahada, and you'll learn about this very, very soon, the 5 pillars of Islam, the first key, the first pillar is your faith. All right, is your faith. And you have to confess that there's one God. All right, and his name's Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet. So let's talk about this guy named Muhammad. All right. In the year AD 570, Muhammad is going to be born, and he was actually an orphan, and he was raised by his uncle. All right, just his parents weren't able to take care of him. Got older, I believe they died, and his uncle took care of him. So as a young teenager, his uncle taught him a trade, and it was that of being a caravan leader. So they traveled all the time because he was a merchant. All right. So, anyways, Muhammad goes on to become a merchant. That water's good. All right. So in the year AD 610, according to the Quran, and check this out, guys. I actually own a copy of it. Now, it's spelled a little differently than I have it on the screen. It's here spelled Koran. But it's neat. I've kind of looked through it some. I have told you guys that I am a follower of Christianity. But, you know, it's always cool to know about other cultures and other religions. It makes you wiser. It makes you smarter. So, yeah, I have a copy of that. So I've checked some of it out. So, but according to the Quran, Muhammad is going to be visited by an angel and told to teach this new religion called Islam. And Islam means simply this: surrendering to the will of Allah, which is their one God. All right. Well, now going to be their one God. So some things he taught: people were supposed to destroy idols of false gods, because remember, they were polytheistic. And now Islam teaches that there's only how many gods? One. All right. They're now not polytheistic, but when you only believe in one God, what are you? Monotheistic. All right. So some things he taught was to destroy those idols. He taught that people were created equal. And he also said how you act now will impact your life in the afterlife. So let's just continue about Muhammad. So not everyone liked Muhammad's message, though, especially the wealthy and religious. And this sounds very, very familiar considering we just talked about Christianity. Not that they're the same person, but a lot of people felt the same way about Jesus. Remember? A lot of the Jewish religious leaders said, look, Jesus is a threat to our authority. Romans said, look, this guy's way too popular and he needs to die. So a lot of people felt the same way about Muhammad. They said, look, he's challenging our authority and we got to change something. So in AD 622, Muhammad and his followers left Mecca. If you go back here, remember, left Mecca and went to, you said it, all right, Medina. So this trip became known as the Hijrah. And it means the breaking off of relationships. And this was a huge relationship because this is where Muhammad's from. All right. He grew up in Mecca and he's leaving now to teach his new religion. So in Medina, people were very open to Muhammad's message as a prophet. They said, look, we like your message. We trust that you have been visited by this angel and that you're teaching us this message from our God, Allah. All right. So Muhammad went on and used his influence to create something that we call an Islamic state. And that means that there is a government that's created, and its sole purpose is to teach and uphold Islam. So in AD 630, Muhammad uses an army, though, to go back down to Mecca. He was in Medina. He had a great time. Mecca, however, they weren't feeling him as much. So he goes back, conquers Mecca, and as a result, Islam became very popular and spread all over Arabia. So we're looking mainly today, Muhammad, who is he? Islam, what is it? All right, that's how it gets started. Hope you guys have a great day. See you later.